World-Struction podcast. I'm your host, Alex.
And I am the co host, Levi.
Rad. All right. And so this is a podcast that me and my friends have made up. We're going to try to teach you how to world build. Just because, we were basement dwellers. We were guys that just rolled dice all day. And that gives us some credibility.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. We know what we're talking about.
To
Anyways,
some extent.
so the general idea is that we hope that it teaches you a little bit about world building and it gives us something fun and mildly entertaining to do. All right. And so over the course of the podcast, we're planning on actually building up our own world based off of just us brainstorming and hashing it out over this podcast and randomly generated words and stuff like that.
Yep, this all seems true so far.
I have not lied to you yet.
Not yet. Are you going to mention that we might have some others? There's not just going to be Levi.
Oh
There
yeah,
might be.
yeah. I guess anybody who wants to be on the show can be on the show so long as you have something to say.
Hmm.
Uh, all right. Let's start this stuff. Let's begin. So, I'm looking at the sheet here on our talking points. What? How do you world build, Levi? Let's dig into it.
Well, usually I begin with a theme
Mm-hmm.
or an idea. So or this most recent one was I wanted to do a campaign with as many of my friends as possible.
Right.
So I had to think about what would be a world that would make sense for there to be 20 plus PCs in it, player characters in it.
Okay.
So, and I think I've talked to you about this before
I
about
I
how
I don't remember you talked to me about a lot of things.
that's true. I do. I do kind of just rant at you for hours.
Yeah.
But the world I no actually no I haven't mentioned this to you. The world that
Ooh.
I'm building for that is going to be there's a new continent and the parties is going to be exploring the new continent. So, the world I had to build had to make sense for there to be 20 or more people doing. So I couldn't do like your standard adventuring party because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise there'd be 20 people all going into a single dungeon at the same time and that'd be way too much. So I had to come up with, um, a world that fit that problem. But also times, I talked to you about what was it, RIPD or whatever, the world I wanted to do that I thought would be interesting based on if there were like death police that would
Right.
go around and yeah, and take care of supernatural things. It's not an original idea, but something I thought would be kind of fun to do an adventure based on.
So essentially, you take like a theme, idea, or goal, and you just kind of build off of that.
Exactly, yeah, and make sure that the world can fit that theme idea. Um, what's your process?
Oh, oh man, you turn the questions back on me, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. This
Oh,
is a conversation.
oh Jesus. So mine's pretty similar. I think if not like exactly the same, a bit more vague. I describe it as kind of just finding a feeling. Like, what's a good example? Hey, you know that neon sign where it's just like 80s themed and it's all like oranges and blues and like it's the sunset and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of come up with like an idea like that. I'm like, well, what would be a world that kind of matches that aesthetic, you know? And that's somehow I come up with like this kind of like sci-fi cyberpunk idea wherever like people have like neon sunglasses and stuff like that and it's just bright contrasting colors but also it has like this grimy kind of underground I don't know, so it's kind of like taking planting a seed of something very general and vague, and then just kind of wiping it down and eroding it until you get something that's actually concrete.
It kind of sounds like you do tone. Like there's a tone that you find that you want to kind of go for and build a world around. I
Yeah.
what what was your inspiration for the and you might have to give a little backstory because I have to remind myself that this isn't just a normal conversation, that this is a podcast. So
Yeah.
you might have to give some.
There's a hidden third party listening in. It's the guardian.
Yeah, exactly. um, but you know the world that you did where everything was post-apocalyptic, but it was fantasy based. So there, I don't remember what we were calling it, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
No, I completely have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, the
What happened in it?
oh well, there was like wheezing spiders.
Oh, okay. So that idea came. So for those of you who don't know, I came up with this idea of kind of like this leather-clad metal. Essentially, I had it was a world that was so far gone, so far like apocalypse. It had like 8 apocalypses that happened to it, world-ending apocalypses. So far gone that science uh, was meaningless and was now magic and stuff like that. And it was like leather clad people roaming the streets. And how I got there was actually Conan. Just the idea of like this a super buff guy just beating people with a giant sword or something like that. I wanted to do Conan, but I didn't want it to be medieval barbarian.
Just yeah, you just didn't want to do just fantasy Conan. You were thinking, trying to think a little outside the box with it.
Yeah, and so I was like, well, Conan doesn't have robots. Let's throw some robots in this.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Yeah.
That was a pretty fun world. So do you like to do inside out world building or outside in world building? And before you start, for those of you who don't know, inside out world building is when you start with something small and you kind of like a town or a person, and you kind of build the world around that. And outside in world building is where you start with the world and you build into the towns and the people. So, Levi, would you say is that which one of those do you think you attack best, or which one do you prefer?
Well, it really depends on what I'm doing or what I'm trying to do. So, with something like um, the adventure I'm building for you guys, where I'm having 20 plus people,
Oh, I'm
uh,
invited to that.
yeah, you are.
I was worried it was 20
Congratulations.
plus of your other friends.
Right, yeah, because I have that many other friends. But for that one, it is an outside in type of thing. You know, I built the whole world and then I kind of went in on the specific continent you guys are exploring. And then I went in on, okay, where are they going to be starting out at? And then working on that expanding area. But
Okay.
if I'm doing something like in, uh, they what's a good example?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, right.
Uh,
Well, the
uh,
the the only one I can think of is like if somebody was to tell me, "Hey, Levi, I need you to DM or dungeon master. You know, I need you to run a game tomorrow." Then you want to do Inside Out because Inside Out's faster. Oh,
yeah,
oh
it's
it
what
takes like what 10 minutes to come up with a town.
it's what the players see first.
Exactly. So you can make up 3 4 hours worth of content um, and put it in front of the players, and as long as it's fun and it's engaging and they're focused on trying to do the quest, they won't even realize you have no idea what the name of this continent is or the world, or what happens if we go north. Oh, I don't know what happens if you go north.
And
I
see,
haven't dealt with that.
And that's the thing is that inside out world building is probably the best if you're running like a small D&D campaigner or whatever, or even a big one, because you don't necessarily know where your players are going to go or what they're going to do. I mean, you can lead them in
It's-
directions, but you don't want it to be, you don't want to push them in directions.
right, right. Yeah, I've often heard that. So there are a lot of different ways you can run an adventure. Some people are more railroady, where these are the quest lines you guys have to do, and that kind of happens if you run pre-generated modules.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I found like a mix is usually this, like a sandbox on rails is how I've heard it described, where like, yes, you guys can technically go anywhere, but you'll probably just run into the pre-planned encounter I have there. You have the pre-planned encounter, and then you just need to be able to morph it to fit whatever your players try and do. That's something I've
One thing,
seen.
when my one thing my dad would do when he was running campaigns is well, I asked him about it and he was like, well, your players can go everywhere. It just everywhere else is a lot harder than where you're supposed to go.
Yeah, that's actually West March's style of campaign, which is what you guys are going to be playing in. It's That's how they kind of wrangle the 24 plus players. Is there's a starting area, and then everywhere close to that starting area is relatively low level. The farther out you go, the better treasure is, but the higher level, the more dangerous.
Ooh.
And so it kind of keeps players from trying to explore areas that they shouldn't be exploring. And it gives you time to prepare.
Right.
So
Uh, this is great dialogue, but did you did you check on what time we started? Because I forgot to check.
I think it was about 6:30 ish.
We'll just call it 6:30.
Yeah, that might be a little late, but we can always check later.
Yeah, because the recording should be however long it is.
Right, yeah, and then you can just cut it down to whatever you need to cut it down to. So it doesn't really matter.
Yep. Anyways,
Or cut it up.
cut it up. What?
Yeah, yeah.
Make the
What if you only,
conversations longer.
yeah, just add dead air.
All right. I think we pretty much covered the preliminary stuff.
Yeah, I mean the thing about like what is my process for world building,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's pretty simple for me. And I don't really know how to explain it in such a way that I could extend this conversation to 30 plus minutes. Um, but
No,
yeah,
we don't need 30 minutes of what's your process. We just wanted to talk about what's your process, how we get it. And now we're going to show our audience us work. We're going to build a world. You ready, guys? Are you ready?
there's only one. There's just me.
Are you ready?
Yeah, kinda.
All right. All right, let's start it off. So I pulled up a random word generator that's going to throw 5 words at me real quick. And from those 5 words, we're going to find something to start our world. We're going to do some inside out world building. All right? Rad. Activating random word generator now. I got identification, cool, introduce, generate, and bomb.
Well, I like bomb.
That's an
The
exciting
only one.
word.
That's the only one that really caught my interest.
Okay.
Um,
What can we do with bomb? Well, so when
well,
I said bomb, the first thing that kind of came to my mind was just kind of like a world, like a world that's about to explode, kind of
of
like
course.
a Krypton type of deal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What were the other four?
Generate, introduce, cool, and identification.
Well, you could do, bomb and generate. That's kind of like a life and death thing. You know, generate and bomb. Those are almost exact opposites. Not quite.
I don't see your
Uh,
logic there, but okay, we'll
well,
roll with it.
generate's similar to create.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And
But
so we have cool. What if it's like a frozen tundra? Let's start off with a frozen tundra, okay?
okay, all right. Like, are we
Well,
gonna do a frozen world,
I don't think
like
we should.
Ice Age?
Let's not scale it up to a world yet. Let's just play around with the idea of a really cold place.
All right.
All right. And let's. I want to find a creative way to introduce the idea of bomb to this cold place.
Well,
What if.
or you could always say the bomb is what created the frozen tundra, but
What?
that's like
Oh.
lore. That's not really inside out world.
No, that's okay. Let's play around with lore. So how would a frozen so what okay, let's say that this world okay, so something created a frozen tundra with a bomb. Okay?
Yeah.
With a bomb created a frozen tundra. Now let's figure out on what is the technology in this world. Do we go high magic or high science?
Well, you could do. Okay, actually, I do have an idea here.
You
You
do?
could do a low magic now. It used to be a high magic world,
Okay.
but something happened. Magic hasn't been around for a long time. Maybe this bomb exploding um,
Maybe the bomb froze magic.
froze magic.
Yeah.
What a concept!
Yeah.
Well, you could base that in a little more reality instead of froze magic. That's such an abstract concept that'd be hard to even
Well,
place for lore.
we'll shelve that. We might come back to it because I already have some ideas cooking with it, but I want to hear what you're about to say.
What I was about to say is maybe long ago this was the center of magical R&D, research and development, and
Okay.
that's what got bombed.
That's what got
so
bombed.
so it's not that they froze magic; they just destroyed what the center of all research and development in magic was. All the of course they probably would have whoever was trying to do this probably would have waited until they there was some sort of meeting, right, of all of the heads of their respective um, guilds or universities, whatever they would have been called. And that's when they set the bomb off and killed all these leaders and stuff like that. And in its place, now there's just this desolate tundra uh, where once stood this great structure and library, um, for magic. So now most magic is lost to the ages. Really, the only magical people in this world would be people born with an inherent talent for it, I guess.
Hmm.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know what you got. Feel
Well,
free to.
I had an idea. So let's say that there was some sort of magical epicenter, okay?
Oh,
And some guy, so we'll call him Evil Dude, Mr. Evil Dude,
Mr. Bad Guy.
Mr. Bad Guy. Mr. Bad Guy got fed up with magic for some reason, somehow. I don't know. We'll talk about it later at some point in time. And he planted a bomb at the magical epicenter, and that blew up all of the like magical resources and stuff like that. And
So,
now,
so essentially, wizards wouldn't have mana, right?
right,
It would be kind of like the correlation. They can't draw on anything to cast their spells.
right, and now it's in the future. So some mana is beginning to thaw, but the price that it happens on the person casting magic is they begin to be frostbitten.
So essentially, yeah, that'd be very interesting. you would have kind of a similar world where it's like magic is returning, so it's a low magic world.
Slow
the
magic.
probably the only people who would probably be using magic in this world are your PCs, the people who would choose to do that. And
Well,
you would make magic really powerful, but you would counterbalance it by giving it a uh, well, essentially it'd be like blood magic where they'd be harming themselves as they cast it.
right. So essentially, magic is sort of beginning to thaw. Things are beginning to waken up. Winter is becoming spring. But when people cast magic, they can only do a certain amount before it begins to like just frostbite their hands and stuff like that.
Right.
Do
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's pretty cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah. All right. We have a pretty awesome idea. Let's let's try to think of like. Do you want to?
Well, we could do something practical. I mean, what kind of we need to know what kind of civilization is here, if there is even civilization, and where would the players start? That type of stuff.
I think
Or do you still want to go more broad and just kind of work out more of the lore and
let's
detail?
not talk about players yet. We can talk about that later because I want this world building to not necessarily be game focused. I just kind of want it to be open ended.
Gotcha. General world building.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
just generally painting a world.
Okay.
Yeah, and we just so happen to have a lot of game building experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's all of my experience. So I might be biased,
Well,
but it might be hard to work me out of such a habit.
it's all right. At least you have a good personality.
That's not true. Don't lie to me. Um,
All right. Uh, I like to imagine that there was like a high magic like country, society, or whatever, and that's where the epicenter was. So there, an epicenter was there. It was there for however long. It's kind of like on how society always builds next to water.
right.
Yeah, so there was a big magical society, city, country there, built around the epicenter.
Right. They would have probably been the only nation with such.
They would have been the best magical boys.
Exactly. Yeah. They
Other
would have
nations had their
monopolized the industry essentially.
yeah, other nations had their magic, but it wasn't as strong as theirs. Do you think it could have been like a nation attack?
That would make sense. Yeah. I mean, your rivals get that powerful and you need to come down. But, then comes the question, well, their attack succeeded. So why didn't they move in and take their land? Maybe they did, you know?
Maybe the land's inhospitable.
Oh, the magical blast might have destroyed most of the land.
Right. It's
So
so
there's nothing to farm. So that's why yeah, that's why it's because it's all tundra now.
yeah.
So there's really nothing to,
It's Russia.
yeah, nobody wants that.
No, but it is just an inhospitable land.
Okay, that would make sense.
All right. So then let's hammer out what the other country is. The no match country.
Well, you
Maybe
could say that they were, well, you could do the route where they were like maybe religious zealots of some sort. Um, and that's why they destroyed this rival nation because they were obviously probably not worshiping the same god. Um,
hmm,
but that might be too much, because then we're going to have to start thinking about gods, and that's a whole thing.
yeah.
Uh, um, I mean, it could have just been, it could be, well, here's a question for you. Do we want this nation to still be a major player or world power, or there has to be unintended consequences from blowing up a magical epicenter,
Right.
especially one that was so powerful.
Maybe maybe it released something. Maybe this magical epicenter was something. It wasn't just like a giant fountain.
Okay. It was a prison of some sort?
Maybe. Uh oh, okay. I have an idea. What if the epicenter was just kind of like like a volcano, if you will, okay? And with the ice bomb, it froze the top of the volcano or whatever. And I know this isn't science. Don't talk to me about science, but it all just kind of like all the magic just kind of like bubbled up and started leaking into nature in other places. So people didn't have like actual like fireball, but there were things there. It started like leaking into the trees.
So maybe beforehand, magic was less chaotic and more of a force you could tap into and use, but now it's much more chaotic and nature based, is what you're trying to say?
Yeah, as if yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. You got it.
Okay.
All right. And
So,
so
so there would be things now that maybe there weren't. So, like frost worms and these big monstrosities
I've
essentially.
kind of I've always been playing around with the idea. I thought about it for a bit, and I want to throw it out there. What about like the idea of like a beast or something that is just like the perfect human killing machine? What do you
Well,
think?
that would just be a human.
No, 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 no. Yeah, you're probably right, but I don't know. I was just thinking like well, because I had an idea, and here's my thought process. So I had an idea for a beast where it just helped eliminated the human strengths, which would be our ability to communicate and our ability to use tools. So the beast has to somehow be able to destroy tools very efficiently, or in effect them, and disrupt our ability to communicate. So I thought about like some sort of weird cat beast that can mimic people's voices and like spits acid.
This okay. Oh, it spits acid to destroy their weapons. I got you. I thought you were just talking about spitting acid just for the fun of it.
Well, it can be fun. Have you ever have you
Yeah.
ever tried it? You don't know.
No, no, I have never tried it. Okay. Well,
Maybe it doesn't have to necessarily be that, but I want. What about just like just the creatures are just significantly more dangerous and
yeah.
aggressive towards people.
It's. I would simply say that the release of magical energy has created these, you know, more aggressive animals, essentially.
All right,
Um,
we'll just stick with that.
because if you introduce this, and you can still have that new creature in there, but that would be like something like a rumor, people would hear about is, oh, there's this monster in the forest that would go around, because
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
All right. So the point is that because the top was capped, uh, it altered nature to be more dangerous and more aggressive, and just people as a society just weren't really prepared for that, and causing some things to retreat.
gotcha. So
I like to think that the magical epicenter is kind of like the world, and when they blew it up, it agitated the world, and this is just kind of it lashing out.
that's fair. Yeah. All right. So we'd have more. if you were looking at this like an axis of, nature versus civilization, it would definitely right now be on more civilization. Civilization has taken over more. Um, how long ago did this event take place? That's actually a pretty, important question you'll want to figure out, because that determines a lot of things. Are there people in living memory who remembered when this
Let's
the
have
lands?
the bomb. Let's have it blow up just like a couple, like not too long ago. And society is now so the people who blew up the epicenter are now trying to get into that area, trying to get whatever they wanted or whatever. Or like celebrating over their victory, but now they're noticing that cracks in the earth are just starting to open up, and from those cracks, like nature starts like altering. It's kind of like, what's that one movie with Natalie Portman that came out?
Are you talking about Annihilation?
Yeah, like Annihilation.
Well, you could go that route. I was simply thinking that the mana got released, so it would infect. Infect has negative connotations, but I guess that's the only word I can really think of
Permeate
right now.
through,
Yeah, permanent. Permeate through, radiate.
radiate.
Through trees and these animals and stuff like that, and uh, essentially transform and change them to dire versions of themselves.
Is that what
Uh,
happened in Annihilation? I didn't see it.
Neither did I. I just knew that was the movie you were,
I thought
because
I
you
thought
said
you told me that you saw it.
no. Who told you that? That would be a lie. Whoever
Oh,
told you that's lying to you. Um,
all right.
I heard it was a good movie. I never saw it.
I watched the
Uh,
Cinema Sins thing.
what? You've practically seen the movie.
Yeah, that's how I watch my movies nowadays. I would just watch Cinema Sins, talk about it vaguely for 30 minutes, and then
I don't
I'll
have
say
time to watch the entire movie. What do you think I am?
I'm too
I have a
busy
life.
watching Cinema Sins. I can't watch the actual movie.
Yeah, exactly. Um, no, I like this. So, okay, yeah, because so what this means is people are still dealing with the fallout of this action. This is currently happening. This is a right now event. So it would mean that this is perfect. Instead of civilization and being on the downscope and nature being on the upscope, it would be right in that precarious balance
Yeah,
of like, what is going to happen? Is civilization going to fall, or are humans going to be able to find a way to survive? To band together to keep their nations currently. How everyone's watching as the dust settles and trying to see exactly how much they fucked up again, I guess is the question. And if they're going to be willing to fix it.
right.
Sorry, not if they are willing to be able to fix it, but if they can
If
fix
there's
it.
a way to go back.
Exactly. And I assume there is. I like to put stuff like that in world building and lore is ways back, but that's not. It depends on I guess the tone you're going for. If you're going for like, no, it's hopelessly screwed up, you guys fucked up, this is the decimation of the human race.
Well, I think it's more of not necessarily can we go back. It's can we adapt.
Survive, adapt, yeah.
It's like I like to imagine this crack like this that happened. It's like a paper being crumpled. You can flatten that paper all you want, but that paper was still crumpled.
Okay, yeah, all right. Well, the paper is just a crumpled paper is fine to live on. I don't actually see your point. Um,
Okay,
uh, you can just read fine on a. You can read just fine a crumpled piece of paper.
just find another
Um,
piece of paper.
yeah,
Why are you writing on a crumpled piece of paper?
yeah, exactly. Gosh.
All right.
Um, okay. Well, yeah, yeah. So, what nations are left though in this world, or the important ones, the ones that we're gonna be dealing with? That's something we need to come up with. You want something like, there's probably going to be one nation that is apathetic and doesn't think this is too big of a deal. Um,
All right.
for what reason? I don't know.
Let's talk about nations. Nations. All right. So we have the Nomad nation. I'm just writing out a list of nations, and those guys would be the guys that blew up the magical guys. That's the other
Yeah.
nation. Magical guys. And so I think that Nomad has got to be the biggest nation now.
Yeah, probably. I
They're
mean, it makes sense.
they're probably the biggest and the strongest. They're probably looking at the other cats being like, "Yeah, we blew up that entire other society. You better watch it. We'll blow up your other society with a giant frozen bomb."
We have more of those.
Yeah. Do they have more of them? I don't know. But
No, probably not.
they probably like to make people think that they do.
Oh yeah. They're
Uh,
like, that was one of 30.
yeah.
Watch out, boys.
More ice bombs? Question mark. All right. So then we have the Nomads, and then we have a whole list of other guys that we can probably talk about more.
Well, you don't want too many. I mean, remember, this is just a continent. I assume this is just a continent. I don't know. How big was that blast?
Uh,
This is actually a pretty good bit of lore building. Do all these nations, have they fully discovered this world? Or are they just all on a continent together?
who? You're asking the good questions. Huh. I don't know. Let's think about that.
Well, it's not really too big of a deal either way. If you did it where the world is fully discovered, then any nations you come up with are it, right? They're I usually like to say that they're just all on the continent and all of this is happening just on this continent, right?
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. Talking to the audience now. That's the thing. Any idea that you come up with world building or whatever can be scaled up or scaled down to whatever degree that you want or fits the story. So this entire story that we could have right here, it could have just fit into one country and just have been internal country politics. Or it
Yep.
could be an entire world or an entire solar system. It doesn't really matter. So I guess for the purposes of our discussion right now, let's just say it was a group of countries and about the size of Europe.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that
And
works.
so Europe is dealing with all these cracks showing up. Maybe not everybody
Yeah.
else. It does lend the potential if cracks are opening up here. Could it spread to other places or whatever? You know.
Yeah, but and this is my favorite part is that's always something I really thinking about in my world is something that they're doing and that they think is cataclysmic in the end of the world. And then you go to the other side of the it's business as usual, completely normal. They have no idea what they're complaining about, or that they exist really.
Yeah, not everyone deals with the same problems,
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe they're dealing with demon invasions. Who
Demon
knows?
invasions. Maybe
Yeah.
those two things are correlated.
Maybe. Very much possible, actually.
Yeah. But, who knows? That's not what
Yeah,
we're talking about right now. We're talking about Europe.
right. So you would have, let's say, what's a good number of countries? There's a lot of countries in Europe. We don't want to have the same amount of countries because that's too many. That's too much to keep track of.
As Europe?
Yeah, you don't want to try and make your world as complicated as the real world. That's too much.
Well, how many countries
So-
are in Europe?
Well, I don't know.
Oh,
A lot, I
geez.
think. Probably like 12?
I think at least.
Probably more. I'm probably showing my ignorance right now.
I mean, okay. There's England, France, Germany, and Spain and Italy.
44 countries in Europe.
Oh, you look it up, you cheater.
Yeah, I am. Well, I'm sorry. Were you going to name this Czech Republic, Belgium, Netherlands, Romania, Ukraine,
Uh,
Croatia, Moldova, Liechtenstein?
I think it's
Don't
Liechtenstein.
Liechtenstein. Don't.
Okay. Well, okay. So, what do you? How many countries did you say that there was?
44. So we probably want to do a closer like
Let's do.
5 or 6.
Well, let's do 5 or 6 major players and then like smaller regions.
Of course, yeah. You can always go smaller,
Oh yeah.
and territories and what. But I'd say there's like 5 or 6 major countries that can have a nation. One of them being this no mage land. Um, we come up with a name for them and kind of what their gist is. Why did they destroy this other nation? Was it just because
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to be the most powerful players?
And I think that we can talk about the maps of Europe and all that other stuff on our next episode.
Okay.
Because we're moving on.
All right.
Yeah, that was good. We're moving on. We're moving on to this section's called Outside the Basement. Have you seen anything good on TV recently?
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So this is your first time doing this, so that's okay. But
What?
that was probably the worst segue I have ever seen in my life. Like that was just too sudden. I think we need to find a way to wind down the conversation. Cause that was just and we're done.
Well, here we are.
Yep, that's true. Here we are.
See anything good on TV recently?
Yeah, what did I watch recently? I watched that new Dracula show. I was only 2 episodes in, haven't finished it yet, but that was halfway decent.
Oh, good.
And that's actually about it. I've been real busy lately.
Wait,
So
what new Dracula show? Is it just called Dracula or?
Yeah, it's just called Dracula. It's on Netflix, a new Netflix original. I enjoyed it. I haven't finished it yet, so I can't give you a review.
Okay.
But watched 2 episodes, thought it was good. There's only 3 episodes. Each episode's so they kind of did like weird mini series thing. But what have you seen?
Let's see here. I saw The Gentleman, the movie.
Is that any good? I wanted to go see it, but I don't.
I think it was pretty all right. I enjoyed it.
All right.
Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey just as good as I think he'll be.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He was pretty good. I would say, all in all, pretty all right without spoiling anything. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody.
No, I mean I've seen most of the trailers and they usually spoil it.
It's funny, but it's not like it's not like comedy funny, you know? It's not like this is clearly a comedy. It's witty. It is British, so they say they curse a lot. Like a lot.
Well,
well, yeah.
I don't. Is there a problem with cursing a lot? You curse a lot.
Well, I curse a lot, yeah, but not in. I'm just saying, like, okay, they say the C word a lot, and I'm like,
Oh, okay.
Well, because it's England, and they're okay with it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a different culture. That does. I mean, I don't think that has as much of a negative stigma.
No.
It might mean something. I don't even.
Anyways, so it was all right. I don't think that really detracted from the movie. Just don't bring your kids or whatever.
Yeah, it's rated R, so you probably shouldn't bring your kids.
Well, yeah, but people still brought their kids to Deadpool, so
they're idiots. I don't know.
All right.
A movie that I am going to be seeing, I'll probably want to talk to you about is
outside of
Frozen.
Our daily lives.
Well, yeah, is Frozen 2.
What? You saw that? Why?
Well, no, I'm going to see it, and I'll write you a full page dissertation.
Why?
Oh, because I know you love the Frozen series.
It's. I didn't know you were a 6-year-old girl.
Do you not like the singing and the dancing and
I think all those is fine. I just don't like Sven.
I'll be honest, I haven't seen the movie. This is a trap. You've been trapped.
No. No, I don't like Olaf, and I don't like the reindeer, and I don't like the blonde dude.
I see. You've actually seen this movie. That's
Well, I've
okay.
seen I've seen Frozen.
Um. All right. Well,
Yeah.
what are
Well,
some other sources to learn even more about world building?
you said my transitions were bad. Yeah. So, where are some other places where people can learn about world building? I got the inspiration for the layout of this podcast from a channel called Jello Apocalypse, and they do a podcast called Tip of the Tongue. And on that podcast, they talked about one of the episodes was about world building. It wasn't a world building focused podcast, but they also talk about all sorts of other things about like how to be a voice actor and how to be a better writer and all that sorts of things. And I found that very inspirational, and that's why that's how we ended up here. I don't know.
That's why we exist.
That's why we exist. How about you? What are some other sources that you would recommend to our audience?
Well, are we going to be doing this every week? This specific one?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, then I'll only tell you one and
Yeah.
save the other ones for other weeks.
Sounds great.
So Matthew Colville, he does a series on YouTube that he is D&D focused, specific to D&D,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of his advice you can take and add to any time that you're doing world building, lore building, or running the game. You'll if you're doing specifically just like world building stuff, you'll have to like skim his videos because not a lot of them are focused for just that. But there are a few. But yeah, that's who I watch for most of my D&D entertainment and stuff like that, and learning how to do fantasy world building and yeah.
Well, cool. So, you, the audience, if you want to contact the show, well,
To
we
tell
don't.
us how bad it is.
Yeah, please. We like to hear on how bad we're doing, so that way we can maybe do better. Maybe. Anyway, so right now we only have one outlet right now, which is at ALXORNGSODA at outlook.com. That's Alex's Orange Soda, without any vowels in, without the E in Alex and without the E in orange. So yeah, you can email the show via that way or contact me on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. I don't know. Go figure it out. Anyways, that's all. Any last words, Levi?
Stay frosty, my boys.
Stay
There.
frosty, my boy. Last word. Dead. Levi's dead. Wiping off the gun. Goodbye.